With 6 billion people currently inhabiting this earth and more arriving each day, our demands for water will someday exceed the supply. About 1 million people around the world don't have access to fresh water. Having water is a serious daily concern for them.
The populations of freshwater, dependent plants, and animals are shrinking, indicating that water supplies are dwindling. It's not just a problem for third world countries anymore. It's a global issue for every one of the 6 billion people on Earth.
In our project, we investigated the expected population growth for 2050 for a state, a country, and the entire world, as well as the freshwater supply for each area. With this information, we predicted the population and freshwater supply for each area in the year 2050, as well as when the freshwater supply will run out. The following are our results.
The state that we were assigned for our project was Maine. I found that the current population is 1.3 million and the annual growth rate was 0.3%. Using this, I found that the population in 2050 would be 1,430 million. To find the water, I found that the current water supply was 41 trillion gallons and that Maine uses 25,623 million gallons each year. So by 2050, they would have used 871,182 million gallons. Using this information, I found that it would take 3,629 years for Maine to run out of water.
The country that we were assigned for our project was Austria. Using the population for 1960 and 2010, I calculated that the annual population growth rate for Austria was 19,640. I then used this rate to find the population of Austria for 2050, which was 9.175 million. Next, I found that in 2007, Austria's water supply was 84 cubic kilometers. I also found that the average Austrian consumes 48.06 cubic meters of water annually. I then multiplied this number by the population in Austria for 1960, 2010, and 2050. I found that in 2050, the water consumed would be 0.440979336 cubic kilometers. I subtracted this amount from the water supply for 2050, and I concluded that in 2050, Austria would have about 29 cubic kilometers of fresh water. After a lot of subtracting and multiplying, I found that Austria's water supply would run out by 2071. That's probably in your lifetime. The growing population of Austria and diminishing water supply are illustrated in these graphs.
Earth. Estimated population for 2050 will be 11 billion. Water. While nearly 70% of the world is covered by water, only 2.5% is fresh. In 2050, we will have twice as much water if we keep saving now. The estimated year of when we won't have water is 2145.
So what are we waiting for? Our water won't last forever, so let's start saving today.